The Empire had never known defeat. In 10,000 years of expansion across the galaxy, they had claimed over 200 worlds. 47 of those worlds were planets so dangerous that most species considered them impossible to conquer. But they were not most species. Commander stood on the bridge of his warship, the Eternal Conquest, and watched the stars pass by. His gray skin reflected the blue light of the navigation screens. His 4 eyes scanned the data with cold efficiency. Behind him, 300 of the Empire's finest warriors waited in their pods, ready for another victory. "Commander," said his second officer, a young female named, "we are approaching the target system." "Turn to face her. Show me the planet." The main screen flickered and displayed a blue and green sphere floating in the darkness of space. It was beautiful in a strange way. Most were red or brown or covered in toxic clouds. This one looked almost peaceful. "The locals call it Earth," explained. "It orbits a yellow star in the outer arm of the galaxy. Our scouts classified it as a Category 3. Made a sound of mild interest. Category 3 was moderate danger. They had conquered Category 7 worlds before. This mission should be simple. "What makes it a?" he asked. Pulled up the data. The planet has extreme temperature variations. Some regions reach 40 degrees above freezing, while others drop to 60 below. The atmosphere contains a reactive gas called oxygen that slowly destroys organic matter. There are also large predators, poisonous plants, and regular natural disasters. And the inhabitants? Primitive, they call themselves humans. They have basic technology, nothing compared to ours. They fight among themselves constantly. Our analysts believe they will fall within 3 standard cycles. Nodded slowly. He had heard similar reports before every conquest. The analysts were always confident, and they were usually right. "What is their population?" he asked. "Approximately 8 billion. For a moment, paused. That was a large number. Most species had small populations because their planets were too harsh for large-scale survival. 8 billion suggested that either the humans were remarkably tough or the planet was not as dangerous as reported. "Only Category 3, he asked again. "Yes, Commander. The classification is based on environmental factors. The inhabitants themselves showed no remarkable traits in our initial scans. Accepted this. The Empire's classification system had served them well he had no reason to doubt it now. "Prepare the landing force," he ordered. "We will establish a forward base in a remote region first, standard protocol." Bowed and left to carry out his commands. Remained on the bridge, staring at the blue planet. Something felt different about this mission, but he could not identify what. Perhaps it was simply boredom. After 47, the thrill of conquest had faded. Each victory felt the same as the last. He remembered his first, a volcanic nightmare called. The ground itself had tried to kill them. Rivers of molten rock flowed through the valleys. The air was thick with ash and poison. The native creatures were made of living stone and fire. It had taken 2 full years and 20,000 soldiers to claim that world. Since then, nothing had matched that challenge. They had become too good at conquest. Their technology had advanced. Their tactics had improved. Now they landed, they killed, they claimed. It was efficient but empty. Maybe this Earth would be different. Maybe the humans would provide some entertainment before they fell. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, ordered a slow approach. There was no need to rush. The humans had no ships capable of reaching them. They had no weapons that could scratch armor. They were alone on their little world, unaware that their time of freedom was ending. "Commander," reported, "we are detecting unusual signals from the planet." "What kind of signals?" "Communication waves. Thousands of them. They fill almost every frequency band." Frowned, "They talk a lot." "It appears so. They also have primitive satellites in orbit. Should we destroy them?" "No, leave them. Let the humans watch us come. Fear is a useful tool. The fleet moved closer. As they passed the outer planets, studied the human transmissions. His translators worked quickly, learning their many languages. The humans had hundreds of different tongues. They divided themselves into countless groups based on geography, culture, and belief. It was chaos. They are not united, observed. This will make our work easier. We can play them against each other. A wise strategy, Commander. They reached Earth orbit within 2 cycles, selected a landing site in a mountainous region on a peninsula in the eastern part of the largest continent. The area was sparsely populated. It would be perfect for establishing a base. Send down the first wave, he commanded. 50 warriors, secure the area and report back. The launched watched them descend through the atmosphere, leaving trails of fire behind them. In a few hours, the conquest of Earth would begin. He expected it to be over within a month. He expected wrong. As they disappeared into the clouds, felt that strange sensation again. It was almost like fear, but that was impossible. He had not felt fear since he was a child. They did not fear anything. Commander said quietly, I have finished analyzing the human history we downloaded from their networks. And they are violent, sir, extremely violent. They have fought thousands of wars among themselves. Millions have died, sometimes billions. So they are self-destructive. Good, we will simply accelerate their end. Hesitated. There is more, sir. Despite their constant wars, their population continues to grow. Despite their harsh planet, they have spread to every corner of it. They live in deserts, frozen wastelands, jungles, and mountains. They adapt to everything. Considered this. Interesting, but adaptation will not save them from our weapons. No, sir, of course not. But as turned back to watch the planet below, he noticed that did not look convinced. For the first time in many years, neither did he. The first reports from the surface came 6 hours later. The landing zone was secured. The warriors had encountered no resistance. Everything was proceeding according to plan. It was the last time anything would go according to plan. The village sat quietly in a valley between 2 mountains. It was a small place with fewer than 300 people. Most of them were farmers who grew rice and vegetables. Some raised chickens and pigs. Life there was simple and peaceful. Ho woke early that morning, as he always did. He was 52 years old with rough hands from decades of work in the fields. His wife had died 3 years ago, and now he lived alone in a small house at the edge of the village. He made himself tea and watched the sunrise paint the mountains gold and pink. He noticed the strange lights in the sky during the night but thought nothing of them. Probably military aircraft from the base in the south. There were always exercises happening somewhere. At the village school, a young woman named prepared her classroom for the day. She was 28, a teacher who had returned to her after studying in the city. She taught mathematics and science to children from ages 6 to 12. The work did not pay well, but she loved it. Teacher called a small boy named, "Did you see the shooting stars last night?" Smiled at him. "I did. They were beautiful, weren't they?" "My grandfather says they were not stars. He says they were something else." "Your grandfather has a big imagination," said. But privately, she had thought the same thing. The lights moved too slowly and too deliberately to be meteors. The morning passed normally. Ho worked in his field, pulling weeds and checking his crops, taught her lessons. The villagers went about their daily lives. No one expected what came next. They arrived at noon. 3 ships descended from the sky and landed in the fields outside the village. They were silver and shaped like teardrops. Their engines made a sound like thunder that would not stop. People came out of their homes to watch. Some were curious. Some were afraid. Most were simply confused. Ho set down his tools and walked toward the ships. He was not a brave man by nature, but someone had to see what was happening. Other villagers followed behind him, keeping their distance. The ship doors opened, and the aliens emerged. They were tall, perhaps 2 meters or more. Their skin was gray and smooth, like wet stone. They had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on their flat faces. They wore black armor and carried weapons that hummed with strange energy. "Everyone stay calm," Ho said to the people behind him, though his own heart was beating fast. "We do not know what they want." One of the aliens stepped forward and spoke. Its voice was harsh and clicking, but a device on its chest translated the words into Korean. "Humans, you are now property of the Empire. Your planet has been claimed. Resistance is forbidden. Cooperation will be rewarded." Silence followed. The villagers did not know how to respond. This was beyond anything they had experienced or imagined. "What do you want from us?" asked. She had pushed her way to the front of the crowd. Her voice was steady despite her fear. The alien turned its 4 eyes toward her. "Your resources, your land, your labor, you will serve the Empire." "And if we refuse?" The alien raised its weapon and pointed it at an empty tractor nearby. A beam of blue light shot out, and the machine exploded into pieces. Metal scattered across the field. "Refusal is not permitted." The villagers were rounded up and brought to the center of the village. The aliens counted them and recorded their faces with small devices. And were placed in a group with the other adults while the children were kept separate. "They are taking inventory," whispered to Ho, "like we are products." "Stay quiet," he whispered back. "We need to understand them before we act." Commander arrived the next day. He came down from orbit to inspect the newly captured village. His officers reported that the humans had offered no resistance. They had simply surrendered and followed orders. "Disappointing," said as he walked through the village. "I expected at least some fight." "They are weak," Commander replied. "Look at their bodies. Thin skin, soft muscles, no natural weapons. It is amazing they survived on it all." Stopped in front of the building where the prisoners were held. He looked through the window at the humans inside. They sat quietly, watching him with their strange 2 eyes. "Bring me 2 of them," he ordered. "I want to examine them personally." His soldiers brought out Ho and walked around them slowly, studying them like interesting specimens. "You," he said to Ho, "you are old. How many years?" 52, Ho answered. His 4 eyes blinked in surprise. 52 revolutions around your star, and you still work." "Yes." "Remarkable. Most species on do not live past 30. Your survival is impressive." He turned to, "And you, what is your function?" "I'm a teacher. I educate children." "Education. So you value knowledge. That is good. Educated slaves are more useful." His eyes hardened, but she said nothing. Ho put a gentle hand on her arm. "You are different from the others we have conquered," continued. "You do not scream, you do not beg, you do not attack. Why?" "Because we are thinking," Ho said. "Thinking about what?" "About you, about your weaknesses, about how to survive." Laughed. It was an ugly sound, wet and rattling. "I have no weaknesses, human, and you will not survive unless I allow it." He ordered them return to the holding building, but as he walked back to his ship, he found himself thinking about the old farmer's words. The human had not shown fear when he spoke. There had been something else in his eyes, something that looked almost like calculation. Said, "Double the patrols around the village, and have our medics examine some of these humans more closely. I want to understand their biology." "Yes, Commander, is something wrong?" "No, just being careful. They are smarter than they appear." That night the villagers gathered in the holding building. They spoke in whispers while the alien guards stood outside. "We cannot fight them," said an old woman named Sunoke. "Did you see their weapons?" "We cannot surrender either," argued a young man named Jinwoo. "They will work us to death." "We need to wait," Ho said calmly. "Watch, learn, find their weaknesses." Nodded. "I agree. They are strong, but they do not know our world. They do not know what Earth can do to invaders. What can Earth do? Jinwoo asked. They have ships in the sky. Looked around at her neighbors, at the frightened faces and trembling hands. Then she smiled, just slightly. Everything here wants to kill them, she said. The weather, the animals, the plants, the diseases. They came to we have lived here for thousands of years because we learned to survive it. Let us see if they can do the same. Outside, the wind began to blow. Clouds covered the stars. Somewhere in the mountains, a tiger watched the alien ships with hungry eyes. And in the soil beneath the village, countless tiny organisms waited to meet the new arrivals. The conquest of Earth had begun, but so had the resistance. 2 weeks passed since they arrived in. Commander had expanded his base and brought down more soldiers. His forces now numbered 500, spread across the valley in prefabricated shelters. More ships arrived daily, carrying equipment and supplies for the long occupation ahead. The humans were put to work. They harvested crops for the alien stores, built roads for the alien vehicles, and served food to the alien soldiers. Ho worked in the fields from sunrise to sunset, was assigned to translate human documents into data that could understand. On the surface, everything seemed calm. The humans obeyed, they grew comfortable, but beneath the surface something was changing. It started with small things. Food shipments went missing. Tools broke at inconvenient times. Messages between units were delayed or lost. Nothing dramatic, nothing obvious. Just small problems that slowed things down. Another supply crate has disappeared, reported to one morning. That is the 5th one this week. Frowned animals. We thought so at first, but the crates were locked and the locks were not damaged. Someone opened them. Humans. We are not certain. We have guards everywhere. No one has been seen taking anything. Did not like this. On other, the resistance had always been direct. Creatures charging at them, attacking outposts, fighting in the open. This quiet sabotage was different. It made him uncomfortable. Increase surveillance, he ordered. Install more cameras, search every human every day. The searches found nothing. The cameras recorded nothing useful, but the problems continued. In the holding building, Ho led quiet meetings every night. Only a few trusted villagers knew the full plan. The rest simply followed instructions without knowing why. Jinwoo, Ho whispered one evening, "Did you move the fertilizer?" "Yes, it is hidden in the cave behind the old temple. No one goes there." "Good, and the fuel cells from the alien vehicles?" "Took them yesterday. She said she hid them in her grandmother's chicken coop." Ho nodded with approval. Was only 16, but she was clever. The aliens never suspected the children of anything. Joined them, carrying a small notebook filled with observations. "I have been studying their language and their documents. They have weaknesses we can use." "Tell us," Ho said. "First, their armor. It is strong against weapons but weak against extreme temperatures. They use heating systems in their shelters because our weather is too cold for them at night." "How cold do they need it?" "They are comfortable at about 35 degrees. Below 20 they become slow. Below 0 they cannot function at all." Ho smiled grimly. Winter was coming. The mountains would soon be covered in snow. If they could survive until then, the cold would become their ally. "Second," continued, "their food. They brought supplies from there, but those supplies are limited. They are starting to eat our crops, but their bodies cannot digest everything. I have seen several soldiers become sick after eating kimchi." "The fermented cabbage?" Jinwoo asked with surprise. "Yes, the bacteria in it attack their digestive systems. They have banned it now, but they do not know about other fermented foods. We could feed them things that would make them weak." "Dangerous," Ho said. "If they discover what we are doing, they will punish us." "I know, but small sicknesses will help. A weak enemy makes mistakes." The third piece of information was the most important. Had learned that they were vulnerable to Earth diseases. Their immune systems had never encountered human pathogens. A simple cold could put a soldier in bed for days. The flu could kill them. "We cannot weaponize disease deliberately," Ho said firmly. "That crosses a line." "No," agreed. "But we do not have to. They are already getting sick. We just need to make sure they do not find cures." The first major strike came 3 weeks after the invasion began. A supply convoy traveling through a mountain pass was attacked by what they described as a wild animal. 3 soldiers were killed before the creature disappeared into the forest. "What kind of animal?" demanded. "Unknown, Commander, large, fast, orange and black stripes." "A tiger," said quietly when she heard the report. She was not supposed to be listening, but the often forgot she was in the room. "There are still a few in these mountains." Heard her and turned his 4 eyes toward her face. "You know this creature?" "Yes, they are hunters, very dangerous." "How do we kill it?" Paused, pretending to think. "Tigers are hard to find. They move at night. They are very patient. They can wait for days before attacking." This was true, but she did not mention that tigers usually avoided humans. She did not mention that this particular attack was strange, almost as if someone had led the soldiers into the tiger's territory on purpose. Jinwoo had done exactly that. He knew these mountains well. He knew where the tiger lived. He had guided the convoy into a narrow pass where escape was difficult. Then he had made noise to attract the tiger's attention. The rest happened naturally. More attacks followed, not from humans directly, but from the world around them. A group of soldiers walked into a nest of hornets and suffered dozens of stings. One died from an allergic reaction. Another group drank from a stream and became violently ill from parasites. A shelter collapsed during a windstorm because humans had quietly loosened the support beams. "This planet is trying to kill us," said one day. Her voice was no longer confident. "All try to kill us," replied. "We endure." But privately he was worried. They had lost 40 soldiers in 3 weeks without fighting a single battle. Disease, animals, accidents, weather. The humans just watched and worked and said nothing while the planet itself seemed to attack. "Commander," a soldier reported, "we have captured a human near the northern perimeter. He was carrying supplies into the forest." Went to see the prisoner. It was an old man named a farmer from the village. He sat calmly in his cell, showing no fear. "Why were you in the forest?" demanded. "I was looking for mushrooms," said. "Mushrooms?" "For food. We are allowed to gather food, yes." Studied the old man. His face revealed nothing. His story was simple and believable, but something was wrong. "Search the forest where he was found," ordered. They found nothing. No weapons, no hidden base, no evidence of any plan, just trees and rocks and mushrooms. Released the old man. But that night, 3 more soldiers fell sick with mysterious fevers. In the village, and Ho met to discuss their progress. "It is working," said. "They are scared and confused." "Not scared enough," Ho replied. "They are still here, they still control us. We need something bigger." "What do you suggest?" Ho looked toward the mountains, where the first snow was beginning to fall on the highest peaks. The cold season was coming. The worst winter in decades was expected. "We wait," he said. "Let the winter do what we cannot, and when they are weakest we strike." Nodded, she understood. The resistance was not about winning a single battle. It was about survival. The humans had survived on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years. They had faced ice ages and plagues and disasters. They were still here. They had conquered 47, but they had never faced anything like this. They had never faced a world where even the seasons were weapons. And they had never faced humans. Winter arrived without mercy. The temperature dropped below zero and stayed there. Snow covered the valley in a thick white blanket. The wind howled through the mountains day and night, carrying ice that cut like tiny knives. For the humans of this was normal. Harsh, yes. Uncomfortable, certainly. but survivable. They bundled into heavy coats, heated their homes with wood fires, and waited for spring as their ancestors had done for generations. It was a disaster. Their shelters were designed for controlled environments, not the brutal cold of an Earth winter. The heating systems worked constantly but could not keep up with the dropping temperatures. Pipes froze and burst. Doors sealed shut with ice. Soldiers who went outside came back with blackened fingers and toes. Frostbite explained when demanded answers. The cold kills the flesh. If not treated quickly, the limbs must be removed. "This is Category 3, shouted. "This cold would kill any known species." "Humans survive it every year," said quietly. "It is normal winter for us." Wanted to hurt her. He wanted to make her pay for the calm way she spoke about his soldiers' suffering. But he needed her. She was the only human who truly understood both languages, both cultures. Without her, he could not communicate effectively with the prisoners. "How do you survive?" he asked through clenched teeth. "We adapted. Over thousands of years, our bodies learned to handle the cold. We also learned to build proper shelters, wear proper clothes, and eat proper food. You have none of these." "Then teach us." Smile just slightly. "I can try, but your bodies are different. What works for us may not work for you." She gave them advice. Some of it was helpful. Most of it was not quite right, just wrong enough to cause problems without being obviously false. The aliens ate foods that suggested for warmth, but those foods did not provide the nutrients their bodies needed. They dressed in layers that trapped moisture against their skin. They built fires that produced smoke their lungs could not handle. By midwinter, the force had lost 100 soldiers. Not to combat, not to direct attacks. To the cold, the sickness, and the endless small failures that piled up day after day. "Commander," reported one frozen morning, "another supply ship crashed during landing. The ice on the landing pad caused it to slide." "How many dead?" 12, plus the entire cargo of medical supplies. Stood at the window of his command shelter and watched the snow fall. He had conquered a planet where fire fell from the sky. He had conquered a planet where the gravity was so strong it crushed ordinary bones. He had conquered a planet where the air itself was acid. But he had never seen anything like this. "The humans are doing this," he said. "Commander." "The humans, they are sabotaging us, not with weapons, with knowledge. They know this planet, they know how to survive here. They are letting it kill us." Considered this. That would require remarkable patience and coordination. Yes, it would. Turn to face her. These creatures are not what we thought they were. They are not primitive, they are not weak. They are survivors. They have been fighting their own planet for their entire existence, and they are still here. What do? We must leave this region. Move south where the climate is warmer. Establish a new base and regroup. That would look like retreat. It would look like intelligence. Only fools fight battles they cannot win. The evacuation began the next week. They packed their remaining equipment and prepared to move south. They would leave behind the dead and the damaged. There was no choice. Ho watched from the field where he worked, pretending to clear snow. He saw the ships loading. He saw the soldiers moving with urgency instead of confidence. He saw fear in their 4 eyes. "They are leaving," Jinwoo whispered beside him. "Not leaving, retreating. There is a difference." "Should we stop them?" Ho shook his head. "No, let them go. They will tell others about what happened here. Fear spreads faster than fire." But they did not leave quietly. Before departing, ordered his soldiers to gather the human prisoners one final time. The villagers were brought to the center of the base, surrounded by armed guards. "You think you have won," said through his translator. "You think your tricks and your winter have defeated the Empire. You are wrong." No one answered. The humans stood silent in the snow, breath misting in the cold air. "We will return," continued, "with more soldiers, with better equipment, with weapons that will burn your mountains to ash. This is not victory. This is a delay. Ho stepped forward. He was an old farmer, thin and weathered, nothing compared to the armored giant before him. But his voice was steady when he spoke. You are welcome to try. His 4 eyes narrowed. You do not fear me. I fear many things, the mountain storms, the summer droughts, the diseases that take my neighbors. I have feared all my life, but I am still here. My father was here before me, his father before him. For 1,000 generations we have lived on this world. Many have tried to take it from us. None have succeeded. We are not like your previous enemies. No, you are weaker. You cannot breathe our air without filters. You cannot eat our food without sickness. You cannot survive our winters without shelters. You came here thinking we would be easy to conquer. You were wrong. Raised his weapon. For a long moment he aimed it at Ho's chest. The other humans tensed but did not move, reached for Ho's hand and held it. Then lowered his weapon. Remember this day, he said. Remember that I chose to spare you. The next commander may not be so generous. He turned and walked to his ship. His soldiers followed. One by one, the vessels lifted off and rose into the gray winter sky. Within an hour, they were gone. The villagers stood in the snow, watching the sky long after the last ship had disappeared. Is it over? Asked. No, said. He told the truth. They will come back. Then what do we do? Ho put his arm around the young girl's shoulders. We prepare. We warn others. We build alliances and share knowledge. When they return, they will find a planet united against them. Can we really defeat them? Ho looked at the mountains that had protected his village for centuries. He looked at the snow that had driven away an empire. He looked at the people around him, ordinary humans who had survived against impossible odds. We already have, he said. We just need to do it again. The winter continued. The snow kept falling. And somewhere above the clouds, Commander began writing his report. It would be the most important report of his career. It would change everything the Empire believed about and the creatures that lived on them. It would begin with a simple sentence: Earth is not a Category 3. It would end with a warning that would echo through the galaxy for centuries to come. The Eternal Conquest limped back to space 3 months after leaving Earth. Of the 300 warriors who had departed with Commander, only 87 returned. The ship itself was damaged from a collision with space debris during the retreat. Its hull was, its engines failing, its crew exhausted. Stood before the High Council in the Great Chamber on the 12 elders sat on their raised platforms, looking down at him with 8 eyes each. They had summoned him to explain his failure. Commander, the first elder spoke, you were given the finest warriors and the most advanced weapons. You were sent to conquer a Category 3. You lost 2/3 of your force and returned with nothing. Explain. Had prepared for this moment. He had spent the entire journey home writing his report, organizing his thoughts, finding the right words. But now, standing before the council, all his preparation felt inadequate. Honored elders, he began, the classification of Earth was wrong, completely and dangerously wrong. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Our scouts labeled it Category 3 based on environmental factors alone. They measured the temperature ranges, the atmospheric composition, the presence of dangerous fauna and flora. By those measures, Earth seemed moderate, survivable, conquerable. And you are saying it is not. I am saying that our classification system does not account for the true threat of that world. Activated his data display. Images appeared in the air, photographs of the planet, recordings of the weather, bodies of fallen soldiers. Earth has extreme temperature variations that our armor cannot handle. Their winters alone killed more of my soldiers than any battle. The planet has predators that hunt with patience and intelligence. It has diseases our immune systems cannot fight. The air is filled with a gas that slowly corrodes our equipment. The water carries parasites that destroy our internal organs. These are Category 5 factors at most, the second elder said. We have conquered worse. Yes, we have, but those worlds did not have humans. The chamber fell silent, changed the display to show images of the villagers, Ho standing in his field, teaching in her classroom, children playing in the snow. They look harmless. They are soft, small, fragile. They have no claws, no scales, no venom. A single soldier could kill a dozen of them in open combat. Then how did they defeat you? Because they do not fight in open combat. They fight with time. They fight with patience. They fight with knowledge of their world that we could never match. Told them everything. The quiet sabotage, the deliberate misinformation, the way the humans used their own planet as a weapon. He described how they had guided his soldiers into traps set by nature, how they had fed his troops food that made them sick, how they had simply waited while Earth did their fighting for them. They have lived on that for hundreds of thousands of years, said. Every generation has been a war against their environment. Every day is survival. They are not soft because they are weak. They are soft because they do not need armor. They do not need claws. Their planet provides all the weapons they require. The first elder leaned forward. You are saying this species has evolved specifically to survive? No, I am saying they have evolved to conquer it. They do not merely survive on Earth. They thrive. They have spread to every corner of their planet, from frozen wastelands to burning deserts. They have reshaped their world to serve their needs, and they did all of this while fighting each other in constant wars. Fighting each other continuously, for their entire recorded history. They are never at peace. They are always competing, always struggling, always adapting. This is a species forged by endless conflict on the harshest world we have ever encountered. Pause to let his words sink in. We conquered a planet of fire, but fire is predictable. We conquered a planet of poison, but poison can be filtered. We conquered 47 because we understood their threats and developed solutions. Earth is different. Earth changes. It has seasons that transform the entire planet. It has weather that shifts without warning. It has billions of different species, from microscopic killers to massive predators, all of them competing for survival. And the humans have survived all of this. They have dominated all of this. They sit at the top of their food chain. They have no natural predators except each other, and they are not content with merely surviving. They build. They create. They dream of leaving their planet and spreading across the stars. The chamber erupted in concerned voices. The elders conferred among themselves, their expressions troubled. What is your recommendation, Commander? The first elder asked when order was restored. Took a deep breath. I recommend that we reclassify Earth. It is not Category 3. It is not Category 5 or 7 or any number we currently use. It is something new, something beyond our scale. I propose we create a new classification, Category 12. Category 12 does not exist. It does now, and I recommend that Category 12 carry a permanent warning: never invade, never engage, observe only from a distance. You want us to abandon a planet. The Empire has never retreated from any world. Then this will be the first, and it will save more lives than any victory we could achieve there. The debate lasted for hours. Some elders argued for sending a larger force, overwhelming the humans with numbers. Others suggested orbital bombardment, destroying the population from space, but countered each suggestion. More soldiers will mean more deaths. The humans will adapt and overcome. They always do. Bombing from orbit will be seen as an act of desperation. Other species will lose respect for us. And besides, he added quietly, I am not certain we could kill them all. They are everywhere on that planet. Underground, underwater, in the highest mountains and the deepest caves. Destroying enough of them to matter would require destroying the planet itself. In the end, the council voted. The decision was narrow, but it was final. Earth would be classified as Category 12. The planet would be quarantined. No ship would approach within 10 light years. "One more thing," the first elder said before dismissing the assembly. "You mentioned that these humans dream of reaching the stars. What do we do when they achieve this goal?" Had asked himself the same question during the long journey home. The answer frightened him more than anything he had experienced on Earth. "We hope they are peaceful," he said. "We hope their thousands of years of war have taught them the value of cooperation. We hope that when they finally leave their world, they will be friends rather than conquerors." And if they are not? Looked at the images still floating in the air. Ho with his weathered face, with her calm eyes, the children playing in the snow. Then we pray. Because a species that can thrive on Earth, that can turn their own world into a weapon, that can defeat our finest warriors without lifting a blade, that species will not be stopped by anything in this galaxy. He deactivated the display and stood at attention. "The humans have a saying that I learned during my time there. They say that which does not kill you makes you stronger. Their entire existence has been a process of becoming stronger, stronger than their planet, stronger than each other, stronger, I fear, than us." The council dismissed him, walked out of the chamber and into the cool air of the... He looked up at the stars, thinking about the small blue planet so far away. Somewhere out there, Ho was probably tending his fields again, was teaching her students. The village of was preparing for another spring after surviving another winter. They had no idea that they had changed galactic history. They had no idea that their quiet resistance had defeated the greatest empire in known space. They were just living their lives as humans always did, surviving, adapting, waiting. Shivered, though the air was warm. For the first time in his life, he truly understood what it meant to fear another species. And he knew with absolute certainty that the humans would reach the stars someday. When they did, everything would change. The conquest of Earth had ended before it truly began, but the story of humanity was just beginning.